Today we're going to have a look at the grand finals of HomeStory Cup 25, a $10,000 tournament that was played recently. Very excited to find out what finally happened in this finals. This particular match, it's been on my list of games to cast now ever since it was played. Like, at this point, maybe a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks or so ago. The thing is, it's a very, very long match, and the doctor told me to take it easy right after my ear operation. Now, luckily for me, I'm feeling okay once again, and I figured, let's go ahead and have a look and find out exactly what ended up going down between these two legends. Now, first and foremost, it's a HomeStory Cup. There's no Zerk in the finals? Weird. Spotting right here, in game number 1, playing with the red Terran SCVs in the top left-hand corner of Oceanborn, we have none other than GuMiho. His opponent, playing with the blue Protoss pieces. He's of course from Germany, and he goes by the name of ShoWTimE. Generally speaking, in case you're unfamiliar, first off, I think I've been one of the commentators for HomeStory Cup for every single event that I've done since like maybe 2018 or so. It's been a very long time. So I was actually quite disappointed that this time around I couldn't go. Like I said, I decided to take it easy, didn't really want to take any chances. Even though the doctor didn't specifically say I couldn't go, I figured it was not a great idea to be maybe drinking a little bit too much and casting a little bit too much when you're supposed to be taking bed rest, right? So I figured, we'll take it a little easy this time around. Especially HomeStory Cup, the tournaments, they can run until like, I think this series started past midnight, or at the very least I heard that it's a very, very long match that took forever, so. Sometimes these tournament days, they can start at like noon and they can last until like 2 in the morning. Not a great idea, so I decided to skip it this time around. I'll be back though, at the end of the year, so if you do decide to go to Germany, to beautiful Krefeld, most beautiful city I've ever been to, definitely, yeah, make sure to come say hi. Now, here's the thing, I wasn't there, not very important. However, there's a couple of pro gamers that normally do very well that also weren't here. First and foremost, Cyril. Cyril has won the majority of the HomeStory Cups over the last couple years. He is obviously doing his mandatory military service. He got some time away for, well, the ESL Master Spring Tournament. I'm assuming he's also going to be able to... I don't even have my health bars on. Professional commentator. He's also very likely going to get time away from the military for the Esports World Cup that will be taking place in August. However, yeah, I guess this is a $10,000 tournament. Cyril's not going to bother. 10,000 bucks? I think it's like 4,000 or so, maybe 3,500 for first place prize. That's not apparently worth asking time off for. In comparison, the Esports World Cup, it has a prize pool of $1 million. So I'm assuming, I think it's like 400 grand for first place prize. I'm assuming Cyril is gonna be trying his very best to obtain a victory there. Secondly, as we do have a cheeky little Hellion Marauder opener. Okay, not bad. Secondly, Raynor also decided to skip this particular HomeStory Cup. There are a couple players that normally do very well at this event that decided to, pass on it this time around. And, well, that's the reason why we have ShoWTimE versus GuMiho here in the end. Not that those players aren't great, but normally I think a lot of people would expect Cyril and Raynor to do very, very well. There was one player, however, who was my favorite going into this entire tournament, and that is Clem. Clem was over there, but he got eliminated in the semifinals by the GuMiGod. Pretty amazing, honestly. The fact that, like, GuMiho is ridiculously good, right? I don't think anybody can really fault him, but Clem is Clem, right? We see Clem do so well in every matchup all of the time. The fact that GuMiho was feeling good. They played the semifinals and the grand finals on the same day, so this is clearly a day where the GuMiGod was in shape. Alrighty. So getting the kill right there on that very first adept as the Marauders are going across is really, really nice. This is going to hit before Blink is done. ShoWTimE not going for a really greedy third Nexus or anything along those lines. Oh, are we going to drop them behind? No, we don't really need to. Just going to try and slow down whatever we can. This is going to take a little bit of time. There's no shield battery inside of the natural. Blink is not yet done. But honestly, Stalkers alone do have quite the firepower. As long as the losses aren't significant on the side of ShoWTimE, this should be okay. We already have a bit of a split off here. Yeah, considering you didn't really know exactly what he was playing against. This has been well managed right here by the German Protoss player. GuMiho, of course, from South Korea, making the very long trek all the way across the globe. I believe ShoWTimE lives in Berlin. Or maybe I always get it confused because, well, he was on a team that had the name, I think he still is on that same team actually, that had the name Berlin in it. Anyways, ShoWTimE, not needing to travel nearly as much as the Gumi God. Okay, now he's gonna try and hunt down the medevac. He will be able to get the medevac, nicely done. Saves the Stalker as well. Enough siege tanks available at this point in time though for the Gumi God here to keep all of this pinned back, and I don't think ShoWTimE is really going to commit too much. I'm assuming we're gonna be seeing a third Nexus here in just a moment. He will probably continue trying. I mean, if this was max specs, we'd be loading at least 4 of those Stalkers into, into a prism here to try and arrest some of the workers. Instead, I think we're just trying to kill whatever we can and then blink back down towards the low ground. There is a Viking out, so GuMiho can zone quite effectively. All things considered, though, I don't know if I would have liked to see this Nexus a little quicker. Maybe ShoWTimE was hoping he was going to be able to counterattack a little bit more effectively. And you know what? Getting a siege tank like that is really good. That was siege tank number 3, which is normally the point at which Terrans feel a lot more comfortable. One of the Stalkers ends up going down. Alright, quite a bit of damage actually here being done by ShoWTimE. Getting that siege tank is really sweet. It just makes any of those follow-up attacks from the Terran so much weaker. And we may very well be seeing one of those here in just a moment. This +1 as well as the Stimpack upgrade. They're just about to... Well, this one's still a little whiles away, but... They're going to be finishing up here momentarily. Combat Shields is quite late, relatively speaking, but that's because the Marauder production has been quite high. And that takes... Even though it's not a whole lot of gas per unit, it still adds up. One of the medevacs did sneak away. We're going towards the left side of the map. And these are the type of medevacs that can accidentally win you the game sometimes. Yeah, keep in mind those Marines will have Stimpack now. And if you blink twice... Well, unless it's with Stalkers. If you blink twice, you may just be able to kill an entire mineral line. Not a whole lot of probes over here just yet. Accidental punts. This is what happens when you cast too many games. At some point, you're accidentally funny. The dream is alive. I'm actually so happy I can cast games properly again, though. I mean, I did already cast games again last week, of course. Feels good to be back in full swing. No charge yet. Yep. And this is so good. In the meantime, the bio push, yeah, forcing the recall. Look at the little Stalker floating to the surface. Can he get the medevac at least? No. So that is 12 probes right now in total. Not the start that you're really hoping for here, but obviously ShoWTimE, he's had more economy here than the Terran for quite a while. GuMiho right now started up the 3rd command center. It's only about halfway done. So as far as the game number 1 goes, yeah, this has been aggressive, but neither player really substantially ahead. Now the Colossi are starting to hit the battlefield as well, and that is going to make defending against any of those bio attacks so much easier. Colossi very good against Marines, not so good against Marauders. But obviously they will still put in quite a bit of supplemental damage, especially when their ranged upgrade is done. And that's the extended thermal lens right over there. It's an expensive upgrade, but once you get it, those Colossi hit very, very hard. Normally this is going to be the point where either Terran will double down on Viking production, or they will make even more Marauders. I think GuMiho is going to be doing that second option. Gonna go into an armory right now too, to go into the +2 attack. Yeah, problem is he may have the supply lead right now. Relatively small advantage, I suppose, but what exactly are you gonna do with it, right? Like, you get force fielded, you know there are gonna be charge slots. You can maybe try and get lucky, but it is very, very delicate. As soon as the Terran moves across the map, the Prism is gonna be flying into the natural expansion too, and even though there is a man in the missile turret, there is always a man in the missile turret. I think it's gonna be tough for GuMiho to really hold it. Now, there are some good siege tank positions on this map. ShoWTimE knows it. You gotta be careful that you don't accidentally get elevator dropped like that. There's still that medevac over here. Man in the missile turret did end up getting a few shots on the Prism, but the warp pit is going to continue going here inside of the main base regardless. Jimmy gets sliced up. Marauder is not gonna be too far behind. Look at that guy. Ay, ay, ay. Cut his life into... Okay, we did have a cheeky little Widow Mine drop. But that one did not really get a whole lot of damage done, just a single worker. The entire Terran army is still camped on the right side of the map. Yeah, wonderfully done right here by ShoWTimE. This was very much so a skill check type of opener from GuMiho. Something he likes to do. ShoWTimE is going to accidentally stumble upon that Terran army. These guys are meant to go across. So we do have more aggression over here, but yeah, they're going to find that Terran bio ball that's been parked there and camped there for quite a while. Okay. ShoWTimE halts the worker production at 69 probes, and well, now the medevac is empty here at the bottom of the map. He must realize that there's only at most a few Marines remaining over there, so not really something he needs to consider anymore. Is it allowed to play or to sing Papa Roach when there is no Zerg? What would be the best classic band for Terran and for Protoss? I don't know. The Foo Fighters? Blink 182? Blink 182 would be good, yes. Hello there. The stalkers from my nightmare. It's funny how, like, that is the type of music that I think every gamer from the 90s used to listen to. We do have a council on the Nexus. For some reason, everybody I know that was born in like the early 90s, maybe mid 90s or so, and that played video games in the 2000s, we all used to listen to the same music. And I didn't even necessarily like it. I mean, I liked it, but I just kind of listened to it because everybody else listened to it too. For some reason, those songs are pretty nostalgic. This has been a relatively slow game. I feel like I've been casting a lot of Clem versus Max specs lately. And those guys are just at each other's throats the entire time. You can tell that these two are more comfortable playing the slower games. Especially ShoWTimE, of course. What would be the best bent for a Terran player? I'm trying to think. I guess any of them could work. Blink 182 would be good. Papa Roach would be good for the Zerg. What would be good for the Terran? Oh. Gonna attack our own command center for just a moment. I'm gonna come up with something later. It's gonna be one of those moments where... yeah, casting the games, I will feel very smart in hindsight. I will have the perfect response to my own discussion. Nice council right here, though, once again. We do have Blink available, or sorry, EMP available right now for the Terran, which is a massive power spike. And ShoWTimE is struggling getting the 5th base up and running. So even though GuMiho has been expanding a lot slower, and even though I've been liking this position for ShoWTimE a little bit better overall, now this is a good fight for the Protoss. Nice targeting there as well, getting a few more of those ghosts. Nice micro there too by GuMiho. Bleeding out one too many zealots maybe, but even though those fights have been going pretty good for ShoWTimE overall, yeah, now he's forced to double expand. He needs to get something done. We have Gravitic Drive coming up. We don't have a Skytoss transition or anything like that coming just yet. We don't have additional starports either. Oh my god, Gumi! Well then. That's pretty much game. My voice accidentally going up 4 octaves there. But that was half the Terran army going down in just 2 big balls. That is exactly what Protoss players are hoping for. +3/+3 is going to finish for Gumi in just a moment. That is going to make his bio army a little bit more formidable. I would like to have a little bit more punchiness right here to ShoWTimE's decision making. I know this is a grand finals match. And I know you want to play this as carefully and as cleanly as you can, but now Terran has had enough time to once again build back up. I feel like this exact same fight could have happened a little bit ago, but what do I know? ShoWTimE is obviously a much better player than I am. Yeah, but now there's enough Terran to push this back, it seems. Nice control this time around from the Gumi God. None of the balls connecting this time around, but they are forcing that entire Terran army to scatter. ShoWTimE's double expand did successfully work out. There's that fleet beacon, okay. Or Terran fleet beacon coming up. Mass Liberator is usually the endgame goal for Terrans. If they can get there, life's good. ShoWTimE decides to get aggressive once again upon scouting that base. That Nova will connect. The bio army is still looking quite big though. Do we have a prism nearby? Yeah, we do have one right over here. How many gateways are we on? 15, okay. It almost feels like he doesn't have that many gates, but... his resource count is not that big. Needs to be careful. Now, sniping this expansion is wonderful. Because at this point, Terran is starting to run out of cash. Yeah, these fights have been very, well, relatively modest, right? But they have been cost efficient for Protoss, all things considered. All right, that Nova will not connect. Can we pick that one up? No, we're gonna go after the Prism instead. Nice snipe right there by GuMiho, but I think he's ultimately fizzling out a little bit here. 16 minutes into the game. Yep. The third is going to be running dry, and the fourth is not going to be far behind. Game number 1 goes in favor of ShoWTimE. Slipknot? Green Day, maybe? GuMiho walks a lonely road, the only road that... Yeah, I see a lot of angry Terrans on the internet. There's definitely a lot of internal discussion. Some of it less civil than others. Within the Terran community, especially on the Battle.net forums, there's always a lot of anger. Maybe the lonely road of Green Day. On the boulevard of broken dreams. Yeah, I don't think... yeah. Papa Roach for Zerg, Blink-182 for Protoss, Green Day for Terran. I think that's my final answer. Papa Roach just because it has the word roach in it. That's my only reasoning. Oh. I wish I could find my playlists from those days. It's funny because I used to watch a lot of RuneScape videos and I used to play a lot of RuneScape. And it's just kind of hilarious to me to think back of playing RuneScape in like 2007, which was basically like the least intense game you could ever play. These days, it's pretty intense, so you actually have to have some APM and strategy, but back then, really not the case so much. I mean, the Fire Cape and the Fire Caves in general were like the most intense content, and that was relatively easy in hindsight too, but we would all be sitting there listening to My Chemical Romance, Breaking Benjamin, Linkin Park, obviously. Oh, the good old days. Anyways, what are we gonna do this time around ShoWTimE? Bit of a different pacing, right? Compared to what we... I feel like I've been casting a lot of high action TVP lately. Where the players get 2 Stalkers out and the other guy has 4 Marines and a Medivac and they just go at each other the entire game long. Both GuMiho and ShoWTimE happy to macro up there. I think that was mostly due to ShoWTimE. GuMiho was, well, up with his back against the wall because his early game aggression really didn't do too much. But if you do that sort of aggression against somebody like, for example, MaxPax or Hero, I think they will go across the map and just... you know, hit you in the face. ShoWTimE, more than happy to take it slow. Take it slow. No, that's a battle cruiser. Anyways, he's more than happy to take it a little bit slower than some of the hyper-aggressive Protosses would. And it's a valid playstyle. They call him Demauer for a reason. Poor little Jimmy. He's gonna scout nothing. Oh, look at that. Wow. Fist up in the air as he dies. Kind of badass, actually. GuMiho is going to go for the expansion here in a moment. Taking it inside of the main base. I always like seeing the Terrans at the top level take it into the main base. Mostly because I've had many arguments myself as well over the years. Where a lot of Terran players tell me, Lowko, it's impossible! Okay, I can't possibly be making the command center in the main base and then fly it down to the low ground. It's too much eco loss. It's nice that we see this a little bit more frequently these days from the top tier players. So this little flight of shame feels really bad. Yeah, this is where Terran players feel really bad about the current situation. But it is certainly a lot safer if you're scared of, like... Say, for example, even though it's not really something ShoWTimE does, right? But say, for example, Protoss decides to go for a proxy gate. You can be in a world of trouble if you automatically, scoutless, start up the command center on the low ground. And wow, ShoWTimE, look at that. Instantly goes into a third Nexus. So the map is Site Delta. Site Delta is one of the few maps that has a ramp leading up towards the natural expansion. Most of the maps these days are flat. And it usually forces players to play a little bit more safely. Usually they feel a little bit more comfortable playing that macro match. So ShoWTimE playing into that here as well. Blink is once more going to finish up. This will be defensive Blink now. So only 2 gateways here in total. Straight into a third Nexus. Robo facility is out. We're going to be going into an Observer and then I'm assuming a Prism afterwards. But small amounts of unit production here in total. There was a Raven, by the way. Okay. We're not sending that one across the map either. So GuMiho is basically... So he's gone for a scoutless opener, right? Jimmy was the first unit that went across and ultimately got killed by an Adept. He knows nothing. So GuMiho right now is fighting the demons inside of his head. He has no clue about what's happening on the side of the Protoss. And because of that, he's trying to be safe against everything. Trying to be safe against Blink Stalker, trying to be safe against Dark Templar, trying to be safe against Phoenixes, trying to be safe against Oracles. He's trying to be safe against everything. And ultimately, when you're trying to be safe against everything, you fall behind against greedy players. So the rock, paper, scissors here is working out nicely for our Protoss, who already has that third Nexus done. He's going into charge, he's going into the Robo Bay. GuMiho will go across the map eventually. It should be with Stimpack combat shields together with +1 infantry. But yeah, this is kind of what happens when you don't go for the early game Reaper. SCV scout into Reaper is just really good. I always like engineering bay blocks, but gives you just a little bit more say in the game. Like this is basically... So if you want to play a safe opener, if you're looking for a safe build, as Terran versus Protoss, and you are convinced that you can win just by playing better than the opponent, this is still very viable. ShoWTimE though, trying to go... Oh, he's trying to intercept it. He assumed that the boost would be used already. Boost is available right now. Oh, getting that is huge. Okay. Honestly, that may just seal the deal. There is a Raven on the other side of the map. It does have, like, energy for a couple turrets. For some reason, GuMiho decided to go back home. Yeah. I think GuMiho is essentially now going for an all-in. I wouldn't even be surprised if he pulls the boys. He doesn't really need to necessarily, but... No, he's just gonna expand behind this. I figured he's gonna save the energy on the Raven to go for like one big push. Because if you're gonna try and play the macro game here in hindsight anyway, shouldn't you have dropped the auto turrets? I can imagine that preserving the energy makes sense if you want to go for like an anti-armor missile or something like that, but... Maybe just using it in this big engagement that's upcoming, but this little group of Stalkers is buying a lot of time. Stalkers are back home, by the way, they got recalled. Or as Terran players on the forum like to call it, recall. Yeah, yeah, no, I think that's what it... Okay, here's the Forge coming up. Honestly, at this point, ShoWTimE is cruising. This is a very comfortable game right now for Protoss. It's still obviously not game over. At ShoWTimE, rather than collapsing on top of that Terran's third base, he's doing the ShoWTimE thing that he likes to do, that he's tried many times, and that he's been very successful with. Rather than taking a risk when he's ahead, he's decided to go for another expansion. The old adage of StarCraft still holds true. When you're ahead, get more ahead. It is honestly one of the best bits of advice you can give a budding RTS player, right? Like if you're trying to get better, and honestly any game, but especially strategy games, it is very easy to be forced into an all-in or to almost force yourself into an all-in. But when you're ahead, try to get more ahead. It's definitely not a bad piece of advice. But obviously this does give GuMiho the opportunity to get back into it, right? Generally speaking, the longer the game goes, the more complex the armies will become, and it's much easier for ShoWTimE to, for example, mess up his micro, or for GuMiho to go into a bunch of ghosts and get his Viking count back up, and you can still go really far here, but at every point right now, ShoWTimE is ahead, but only slightly. Hard to say, though, what GuMiho can really do here, right? And that's obviously the tricky part. Even though the advantage may only be like 5% here, 10% there, maybe 20% as far as the army goes. Over the course of a game, that adds up so quickly. Look at the vision right now of ShoWTimE as well. ShoWTimE pretending that he has creep tumors. It's kind of funny looking at the minimap. These have all about the same vision radius as a creep tumor. We just have units set up everywhere. Pylons. Remember the most recent balance patch? They increased the sight radius of a pylon by 1? This is what they did it for, man. One of the most insignificant buffs I've ever seen, but you know what? It actually comes into effect. We're gonna go up to 16 gateways here in total. 16 gate, double robo. Ghosts are coming right now. 4th command center is coming. 2nd robo facility. Well, I mean, you can produce robotics, I guess, instead of a factory. Anyways, 2nd factory coming up right now too. No! Odd numbers of gateways. No. We're gonna go 21 gateways. 22, 23. Okay, stop. ShoWTimE. ShoWTimE is shopping. He wants to reenact the Legacy of the Void opening cinematic, where Proteus builds 1 pylon and then he warps in a gajillion zealots. My life for ire. Like, oh my god, man. Stop. Proteus. Chill. Okay. Well, that's demoralizing. Shield battery pretty good. There's definitely an upper limit to gateways, though. I think he's adding on even more. We're going 26 gateways. You can tell that maybe the tournament jitters are coming into the mix, too. ShoWTimE is ready to swarm his opponent, but that is a lot of gateways. I mean, for this to be the opening of the battle we're finally building up to, where we charge at a gas geyser and a bunker, I'm not in love with it. Okay. Yeah, no, this is not the engagement, ShoWTimE. You may just have the numbers, but he's going fishing with his balls again. It's one of the weird curiosities of Protoss players. They just dangle their bait and hope that the enemy units run into it. Kind of worked there. We got a whole lot of SCVs, 9 of them in total. Are we going fishing over here at the front too? I think we are. Oh, here we go. Got the sensor tower. The sensor tower is actually kind of nice. GuMiho doesn't really have a whole lot of command centers yet. He's trying to fly one towards the 12 o'clock position. Good scout right here by the ShoWTimE man. Very good. Ooh, anti-armor missiles, wonderful here. That is going to buy a bit of time. Planetary, so we're not gonna jump on that ShoWTimE? I feel like we should jump that. Yeah, I sometimes get a bit uncomfortable casting, well, for example, ShoWTimE games, but Stats does some of this too, where you're like sitting there, you're like, aren't we just giving GuMiho so much wiggle room? Honestly, this concave is not bad here for the Terran player. We have a gajillion gateways, so yeah, at least we can instantly remax. I think it's about the best case scenario for GuMiho, to be honest. Couple siege tanks coming in from the side. Zealots at the front still forcing those siege tanks as well over there on the left to deal friendly fire. Okay. Yeah, aren't we just giving Terran a little bit too much time, right? It's like ShoWTimE has got his opponent in a headlock, But rather than just going in, he's just sort of hoping his opponent is going to tap out at some point. It's like the slowest... It just feels so dangerous to me to play it out like this. Evidently, ShoWTimE has tried it, right? Like, he's been playing like this for over a decade. He knows what he's doing, but... He's still very far ahead, by the way. So, yeah. I still really like the position for him, but it always makes me a little uncomfortable. Although I feel like fishing with your balls in general is quite uncomfortable. A couple of them coming from the top. I see a lot of people fishing again in the Netherlands, by the way, for some reason. Oh, no! Well, that's the end of those. It's okay, he's got more. I see a lot of people fishing again in the Netherlands. Like, when I was a kid, fishing was like an old man's hobby, but now I see a lot of young people going out trying to catch fish, and then when they got it, they throw them back. Strange. Anyways, could be spending that time playing video games, you know, is what I'm saying. Yeah, ultimately there's just too much here for ShoWTimE. Yep, GG is gold. ShoWTimE gets the 2-0 lead. Excellent series so far for our Protoss player. It may be worth noting, by the way, that even though Protoss is doing a lot better right now across the board than they have over like the last 3 years, it's been ages since Protoss actually won a major offline tournament. I honestly am not convinced at this point that it has to do with balance. For some time, Protoss certainly was a little bit on the weaker end of things, but ShoWTimE winning an offline tournament, especially in, you know, Germany, even though, you know, he's from Germany, it's nice to be the hometown hero, right? It would mean a lot. Obviously, in a best of 7, though, you gotta win 4 games. And our next one right here is on good old Dynasty. Dynasty, very unpopular map across the board. Although I think for this matchup, let me look it up actually. Liquipedia Dynasty. For this matchup, I think it's relatively even. Oh yeah, wow. Okay, so only 90 tournament games have been played of Terran versus Protoss on Dynasty so far, ever since the map's introduction. And 45 of them went in favor of Protoss, 45 of them in favor of Terran. My gut instinct told me it was 50%. Turns out I am... Oh, dude, I'm on point today. I'm on fire. Anyways. Do we call it Dynasty or do we call it Dynasty? That's always the question. Everybody has agreed that we call this one Dynasty. Even though Dynasty is technically correct. Depends on where you're from, I guess. As a non-native English speaker, I can pick and choose whatever I want to do, dude. I can say aluminum and dynasty in the same sentence. I can talk about vitamins and vitamins in the next... Oh, dude, it's incredible. It's honestly a bit of a life hack. Yeah, don't be born in an English-speaking country. You can now pick and choose whatever you like. Yeah. You can even change it whenever you feel like... Yeah, I don't... Yeah. If one day I move to an English-speaking country, maybe that changes, but... No plans as far as that goes. Looks like we're gonna go for the good old in-base gold here. So obviously, in case you haven't seen this map, there is a in-base gold that you can take a little bit later on into the game too, and then, well, use the rich Vespian geyser. There's been a lot of debate as to how you should be playing this map. A lot of Protoss players on this map like to go for the pylon right over here and then make a wall off to specifically prevent that Reaper from coming in. Curious to see that ShoWTimE has not decided to go for that. Yeah, interesting. I guess he just doesn't consider it to be worthwhile. I will say that it is really fun to see Protoss players competing at the highest level for tournament wins, though. As much as I love Terran versus Zerg, it is really sweet to have 3 races in StarCraft again. Ay. It's always a difficult discussion to have, because some players right now consider Protoss to actually be overtuned. I wouldn't even be entirely surprised if Protoss, with like, whenever we get like another balance patch for this game, I wouldn't be entirely surprised if Protoss gets a small little adjustment. Even though they aren't winning tournaments. But yeah, it might be a little too early. But it's really hard to say. It feels like a lot of players are quite upset about, you know, some of the versus Protoss matchups right now. Yeah, it's very curious. I don't personally agree with it, but I don't think anybody would be too surprised if they end up making some changes against Protoss, even though Protoss is still not winning tournaments. Kind of wild. Honestly, though, the weird part is, right, when it comes to Premier Tournament wins in particular, the Premier Tournaments are basically all won by Serral, Maru, Dark. Right? Raynor has won a few as well. Obviously, there's what I'm trying to get at is that it's a very, very small sample size of players. I feel like a lot of the tournament wins are decided like a decade ago. Whenever, for example, Serral first decided to install StarCraft 2 and he decided to play Zerg. If he would have decided to play Terran instead, would he have still won the same number of tournaments? I mean, obviously an impossible question, but I would probably say yeah. Would he have won the same amount of tournaments if he played Protoss? Maybe not so much. But with the current state of Protoss, I think so. Cloaking upgrade this time around for the Banshees. We already have one of them out. Are we gonna commit? Yeah. Very early cloak. GuMiho anticipating that there's gonna be a base maybe here taken already, but I mean, that cloak was real early. Maybe I was afraid that there was a unit spotting it over there at the bottom. He's gonna have quite a bit of time here to deal some damage, but yeah, the Blinky boys are already available and they've decided to go across that mineral wall. Force the blink back once again. He decides to go after the shield battery, and this is the problem when you go for only a single Banshee move out. Shield battery or not, with double Banshee, you can actually kill the probe still. Yeah. I mean, he's still going to be able to get some damage in, but that was... Ugh. If we're going to make two Banshees, he used it for base defense, I guess, which is nice still, but... When you go for two Banshees, I really feel like in this matchup you should group them up together to try and maximize the damage. Because now that kind of just killed, a shield battery. It's a big commitment to be killing a shield battery. Even though GuMiho's economy has been halted a little bit, he did lose a few workers here and there, he did lose a siege tank. And he didn't really deal any damage on the other side of the map. The golden minerals here are still really sweet. Yeah. So there was a moment where those SCVs were pulled away. Economy for Terran dipped for just a moment. But right now, I think it's okay. Third Nexus coming up. Robo Bay once again on the production tab, about halfway done. And we have the good old charts upgrade. Here's that other Banshee again. This Banshee is just a freaking shield battery and pylon murderer. Okay. I mean, there's gonna be detection at some point, man. In the meantime, we have a little bit of aggression over here, too. Two SCVs have fallen. I'm just gonna snipe whatever we can. Okay, big push over here at the front. Stalkers have, in the meantime, blinked over the golden mineral wall once again. Nexus is likely going to fall if GuMiho, I was going to say, decides to target it down. That's a lot of SCVs going down here as well, though. Third Nexus will indeed die. And ultimately, as the dust settles, a lot of SCVs also fell during all of that. So ultimately, we're just back to 2-base versus 2-base again. This is why I love watching and casting games on this map. It's always so dynamic. The gold base really changes so much. It creates a lot of urgency, right? When you have both players just taking normal expansions. You can't really do that much against your opponent most of the time, but the gold base really does add an additional layer. Army right now for the Terran, by the way, is significantly better. ShoWTimE does not yet have the Colossi ranged upgrade yet. Getting the Prism here would be massive. Does not get it. Saves all of the Stalkers as well, it seems. Nexus restarts once again. I'm pretty sure, by the way, ShoWTimE hates this map. I would not be surprised. Like, the way ShoWTimE plays, it is just not his cup of tea. The way GuMiho plays, it's exactly his cup of tea. Very early Guardian Shield right there for that sentry. Yeah, GuMiho definitely thrives in chaos. ShoWTimE will try his very best to be as organized as possible. Okay. We are getting up to this weird point in the game right now, though, for GuMiho, where his expansion is going to be running low, and the main base will not be too far behind. Keep in mind that mules on golden minerals do not return any additional resources. In the early days of StarCraft 2, they did. And Terrans would just be saving up their mules. They would try their very best to just drop as many of them as they can. But GuMiho needs to take a base here soon. He's going to run out of steam here. In the meantime, the third Nexus has finished up. Even though he had to... Oh, no, careful. Woo. Even though it was cancelled once, ShoWTimE rebuilt it. And that's exactly what he's trying to do right now. ShoWTimE is trying to soft contain the Terran on just 2 bases, knowing that the wind will be taken out of the sails of the Terran very soon. Now, this is kind of curious, of course, about this map. As the mineral fields run out, suddenly there's a new opening. GuMiho using it as an exit out of his base right now. Does ShoWTimE know about this? Okay, he's gonna find out with his proxy pylon. That's nice. Yeah, he realizes it right now that the Terran army has left. This is a massive opportunity, though. Siege tanks really need to be moving a little bit further forward. He decided to recall the majority of that very expensive Protoss army. SCVs pulled away from their mineral lines too. Complete all-in right here from GuMiho. Does he have enough? That's the question. Colossi coming in. SCVs trying to soak up as much damage as possible. Siege tanks being targeted down one at a time, but the Marines and Marauders are starting to break through. We had force field energy. Where were those force fields? All the SCVs are gone, but pretty much the entirety of the Protoss army has disappeared as well. I think that was an opportunity where ShoWTimE could have squeezed a little bit more juice out of it. Nice pickup control, nice splits right there by the South Korean Terran. Siege tanks finally managed to roll a little bit further forward. Robo facility goes down. And I think that may have just sealed the deal. GuMiho has barely any workers remaining. He's got, well, basically no income. But he also has an absolutely massive army. Alrighty. Alcyone. We're at the 2-minute mark. It will be a Reaper opener here by the Gumi God, and we should be seeing an expansion here on the low ground. So this is a double Reaper opener, actually. Interesting. Normally you don't go double Reaper against Protoss, mostly because the first Reaper is on a timer until that very first, well, ranged gateway unit comes out. In this case, it's the Stalker. Okay. Cyclone on the back of this. Obviously, Reapers can deal damage in combination with Cyclones. Like, Reapers and Cyclones kind of work together quite well, but you have to justify the cost. 50 minerals, 50 gas. Not the most expensive unit out there. But still, you have to have a reason to be building this. Oh, he's pretending that this is the only one. I'm that Reaper from earlier. You have never seen me before. Okay. I figured he wanted to go into the main base too, but ShoWTimE, a little too smart. Already has another one of these Blinky boys. Right over here. The Blinky boys, by the way, have face masks on. Did you know that? They've had face masks on ever since the game was introduced. Yeah, incredible. Maybe it's chilly. Maybe Alcyone is kind of cold and they have like a little bit of a like a scarf. Okay, so this is the play? I don't know if this is the play, man. He wants to get a Stalker. He's not gonna get it, though. Yeah. They always mention that cold is the void. That's my... Oh, hold up. Cold is the void. That's my best Protoss impression. It's not very good. But maybe that explains it. They don't have any orifices. We learned that from the Legacy of the Void campaign. So they're not really covering their mouths. They're covering their proverbial mouths. It's a bit weird, really. They have little tentacles over here at the front, too. Do you think stalkers can sit on a chair? I have no idea. These are the type of questions that keep me up at night. Do you think Reapers have working legs? Because they never touch the ground. Maybe they're unable to control their lower body. That's why they have been promoted to the jetpack. Oh, siege tanks. Careful. We do have blink. Pretty big commitment right here, though. Yeah, we have additional barracks coming up. When are we going to be seeing the third command center? That is the question. When are we going to be going into the third nexus? ShoWTimE showing a lot of range, by the way, as far as his openers go. Terran likewise doing the same thing, but for Terran it's almost expected because you can make so many different units early on into the game. A lot of Protoss players do feel like doing the variations on the same theme, right? But ShoWTimE going for a different amount of gateways, and this time around it's a triple gateway start into a robo facility, into robo bay before the third nexus. Earlier on we had a third nexus off of like 2 gateways, which is the exact opposite end of the spectrum. GuMiho, ready to go across the map now. One little siege tank is like, guys? Hello, lads? I was sent to go here. I thought this was the meeting spot right over here. Poor guy. I think it should actually be brought across the map. Yep, it is gonna go across the map eventually. Had to wait until its new directions. Google Maps was not working properly. Hate it when that happens. Yeah, and GuMiho is hoping that his opponent is gonna go down to the low ground here. Well, he may very well be getting his wish. Siege tanks once again siege up. Protoss immediately backs off. There's a second observer. So GuMiho killed one of the observers on the left, hoping that his opponent wasn't going to be able to notice that there's a massive amount of Terran right over here. But there was a second observer, making this all a little bit more manageable. ShoWTimE chases it. When he sees this sieging up, he decides to back up again. And this is obviously fine, right? Protoss at this point has a superior economy. Third command center only just now started up, and even though GuMiho does have workers, so he's been building SCVs for some time. Forgot making a supply depot, apparently. Anyways, even though he's been building SCVs for some time, he's got to be oversaturated. Using some of them to build structures, I guess, so it's fine, but he does need to get that third CC done here ASAP. Wouldn't mind seeing a fourth Nexus. ShoWTimE relatively slow when it comes to the fourth Nexus timing. Preferring the unit production over the fourth economy, but if I compare this to the way that both Hero and MaxSpecs play, who I consider to be the number one and the number, well, whoever is the number one and the number one, okay? Oh, nice observer scout. Nice little snipe right there. It does obviously lose the Medivac, and now all of the Marines with it as well. Anyways, I feel like they are very quick, you know? Like, they hold an attack, boom, instantly, fourth Nexus. ShoWTimE playing it a little bit more cautiously. He's a deliberate man. He's playing a really good series, though. I love that attack, by the way, from GuMiho in the previous game. So the only game lost so far was on Dynasty, and it was a typical GuMiho game, at least as far as the ultimate strategy goes, where GuMiho was waiting for those mineral fields to run out and then catch his opponent off guard by marching his entire, well, army through those golden minerals. Right, that was a cheeky little play. ShoWTimE wasn't quite prepared for it, but that requires a little bit of luck. Nice hallucination scout over here. He sees the entirety of the Terran army. Where's the third Colossus? There he is. So many tanks that it's difficult to come across here, but he could try and do a flank. That's why Jimmy is over here, ready to get charged on. Are we gonna commit? He is going to commit. Guardian Shield here is really good. 2 Immortals still in the mix as well. Immortals retargeted right there onto those siege tanks. Colossi trying to just do as much damage here with those lasers as possible. Brilliant control right there by the German player. GG is called. ShoWTimE wins another match. Match point on Crimson Court. Double gas opener here from GuMiho. He knows his opponent has got chances here to cheese. 3 times in a row. GuMiho could cheese 3 times in a row. What are the odds of it working at least once? I would say certainly greater than 50%, but this is ShoWTimE we're talking about. You think ShoWTimE is going to cheese? No. He's an honorable Protoss player. This man has never made a photon cannon in his life. Oh, well, he's never done a photon cannon rush in his life. Yeah. 4 proxy gateways on the other side of the map, massing zealots? You think that's something ShoWTimE does? No. Think ShoWTimE is going to be proxying a Stargate? He will not be bringing dishonor to his family, okay? It's very important. It is interesting how the casual Protoss players on the ladder, aka everybody below Grandmaster League, actually including Grandmaster League 2. So basically anybody below like the top 20, I would say about 90% of them play very dirty Protoss strategies. There's a lot of cheesing, a lot of proxies, a lot of shenanigans. And then you have guys like ShoWTimE that do the polar opposite of that. I think if you ask like somebody who hasn't played StarCraft in like a decade, if you ask them their opinion of Protoss, they will immediately think of like very aggressive early game shenanigans. And then you have the guys that are extremely successful at the game. They never play that way. It's so different. It's so tough to play Protoss properly in the early game, by the way. Like, just staying alive. Essentially what it comes down to with Protoss is you have to defend so many flavors of aggression with like 3 units. There's very little scouting as well. Or maybe not very little scouting. Protoss would scout if they could. There's just very little vision. So like, this is what ShoWTimE has seen, right? Like this is all he has seen. He's seen two Reapers and a Cyclone, just like in the previous game, but that's what you gotta deal with, right? Like that's how you gotta make your decisions. Very limited intel, yet you gotta be prepared for everything. From Widowmine drops to Cloaked Banshees. But if you prepare for everything, you fall behind economically. You kind of still want to take a quick base as well. Playing Macro Toss is actually really tough. I think overall, with any strategy game, it's always easier to be the aggressor than it is to be the defender. So we do have a cheeky little Widowmine drop coming in right now. Expertly dealt with. Really wonderful work. Brilliant. Yep. Getting the medevac right there and 2 Widowmines is huge. The medevac in particular is tough. Not a loss that GuMiho was hoping for. Any sort of follow-up attack right now from ShoWTimE is going to hit harder. Now, do you think ShoWTimE is... Nope. No. He went Forge, Robo Bay, and 3rd Nexus as a result of that loss. Of course not. If you do this sort of thing, like if you say, for example, you commit to a Widowmine drop and it falls flat on its face against a 4 gateway Blink Stalker opener, you're pretty much dead. Like, as Terran, assuming Protoss micros well, which you can expect from players of the level of ShoWTimE, you're pretty much dead. Luckily for GuMiho, he did not play against that style. He's not going up against that opener here from the Protoss player. But those are very committed pushes that can just, well, lose you the tournament. Aw, look at these 2 guys. 2 Pokemon fighting in the tall grass. Turns out one of them was a Pikachu and the other one was a Caterpie or something. I don't know. All I'm saying is Caterpie kind of sucks, okay? Sorry. Nah, you know what? Metapod. Metapod sucks. Caterpie is kind of cool. Metapod, use Harden! Remember that episode in Pokemon? I think this was the first season. Very strange episode. I watched that episode once when I was like 8 years old. When Ash is like fighting another Metapod using his own Metapod, and they're just sort of shouting at each other. And the Metapods just continue using Harden. Maybe in hindsight, it's like a weird translation problem. I don't know what happened there. That was a strange episode. Anyways. Liberator being more annoying than that Medevac with the Widow Mines ever was. Colossi are out. Charge is available. Do we have extended thermal lens yet? No. That's a mistake. Ah, ShoWTimE realizes it. Important that he realizes it right now. Because losing out on that thing is massive. Like, if you forget about the extended thermal lens, it just makes the game pretty much impossible. There's been a lot of games where pro gamers are very far ahead, and then they get across the map and they realize a key upgrade is missing. Extended thermal lens is... Oh. Huh. Hallucinated probe scouts. That's cute. We don't really see a lot of those. Yeah, look at that. He's doing it again. So for... Normally, if you go for an hallucination, right? If you go for one of the big units, like a Phoenix, for example, you get one of them. But when you hallucinate units like probes or, for example, zealots, you get multiples. So even though they only are here for a little bit of time, it's still gonna give ShoWTimE quite a bit of vision, planting them on the different attack paths right here on Crimson Court. So the bottom of the map is not yet accessible until the rocks or the mineral fields are mined out, and the same for the top path. So ShoWTimE sees if the Terran wants to go across the map. Okay. The Sentry, by the way. I would say that the Sentry is probably the record holder of the most insignificant buffs consistently over the last 10 years. It's a strange record to be holding, but Sentries have gotten about 17 buffs since 2015, and all of them insignificant. Not meaningless, but it is funny how it was once determined that Sentries were not good enough. And they always got the tiniest little buffs. Altogether, though, it adds up. They're actually a pretty darn good unit right now. Still funny to see them doing very little. The most recent buff that they got is actually quite a significant one, too. They now deal more damage against shields, which only is obviously relevant for Protoss versus Protoss. So Sentries are now better at killing other Sentries, basically. Yeah, it helps Protosses kill each other a little bit more handily. Alrighty, so more passivity in what has been a very passive series already. ShoWTimE not going for that killer move that we see from other Protoss players at the highest level, but it's what he likes to do. Zealot warping inside of the main base, fair enough. There's always a man in a missile turret. And the other man in a missile turret ended up dealing quite a bit of damage. We're gonna go fishing with our balls again. Gets a Widow Mine this time around, not bad. People always say that fishing is very relaxing, but I don't think this type of fishing is quite the same. No, this is fishing for your life. Fishing may be relaxing until you actually need to rely on the food that you catch. That's what ShoWTimE is doing right now. +2/+2 is going to finish up for Gumi in about half a minute. Significant improvement, of course, to those biological units. Vikings zoning out those Colossi. ShoWTimE thinking about going up the ramp, but ultimately decides better of it. This is where the gateway explosion starts up again. Are we gonna go 23 gateways? I wonder how many gateways he makes this time around. He's already making 11, 12. We're going 20 gateways again. 20, I have 20. Can we get 21, 21, 21, 22? 20 for the man in the blue Protoss outfit. What? Okay, no, I think we're doing... Oh, no, 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 no. 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26! Okay. Incredible. Gateways have kind of become the command centers of Protoss. You know, where Terrans are maxed out and are like, okay, I'm gonna make another command center, and then another command center, and then another This is kind of what's become with the Protoss players too now, man. They just keep making gateways. I think 26 gateways is too much. It's clearly intentional, though. 150 minerals for a single gateway? Rarely do you need to be warping in 25 plus units at a time. But it does give you that, like, home run potential, right? Where you, like, win one fight, and then you immediately remax and hit the opponent in the face again. You can reinforce even faster than Zerg players can, because obviously with the Prism, you can pretty much warp in into the battle. So it does give you that slam dunk potential, but at this point, ShoWTimE can't even warp in Zealots out of every single one of his warp gates. So he's got 25 of them in total, 26 now. Yeah, he's not even able to warp in Zealots, because Zealots are 100 minerals each. Maybe that's the real reason Protoss is struggling against Zerg and Terran, man. Or at least over the last couple of years. Maybe that's why Zerg has been winning so many tournaments. Have we finally cracked the code? Protosses make gateways. Terrans make command centers. What do Zergs do? They just save up. Zerg players are savers. Yeah. Consumerism has hit Terran and Protoss as well. Zerg players are just sitting there saving for a rainy day. They have an emergency fund. Not so much for Protoss as for Terrans. Okay. I mean, the fishing is going well. Not really getting any big hits, but not any big hits yet. Maybe we're making extra gateways because we know we're gonna lose a couple of them. Maybe that's the play. Tactical nuke. Okay. Yeah, this game is going nowhere so far, by the way. Like, all jokes aside, this is obviously an important match. I am talking about a lot of unrelated stuff, but this game is ultimately not really going anywhere. ShoWTimE doesn't want to go up the ramp. GuMiho doesn't want to go down the ramp. We can fish with our balls, but that's about it. Now, many people would argue that that is enough. But I don't think so. No, just fishing? I would aim for more than that. There is a planetary over here. This could be a good angle, but nice splits right there by GuMiho. Yeah, in order to be a good Protoss player, you gotta expose them. You have to bring them out and put them in vulnerable positions, because that is ultimately what can allow you to win the game. Alternatively, you could go into a Skytles transition, but you can see that Protoss players in general are a little allergic. Skytles is quite nice. We have seen a lot of success. That Estrella versus Spirit game that I casted recently comes to mind. But yeah, we're basically gonna counter what seems to be a mass Sky Terran army with mostly just Stalkers. And that is always a bit of a dangerous play. So what Estrella did in that very long macro game against Spirit was go into Mass Tempest. So we didn't see any carriers from Estrella until there were loads and loads and loads of Tempest out. Basically not until the very end of the game, when Terran was completely dry. Liberator count is growing, and I love that here for GuMiho. He's already got 4 of them right now. 10 is gonna be sweet, man. Stalkers are just really kinda bad when it comes to countering this sort of army. Keep in mind that ShoWTimE doesn't have a Stargate. Oh, he doesn't have, whoa, really? When did you make that? Okay, keep in mind that he does have a Stargate, yeah. So a fleet beacon would be nice to add. I think maybe adding on additional Stargates would not be a bad option either, but ShoWTimE is trying to be the gateway man. The idea being that you just overwhelm your opponent with stuff. You try to Zerg the Terran as Protoss. You try to put on your Papa Roach and forget about the Blinky Boys while making the Blink. It's a bit of a confusing strategy, really. It's warping in so many Zealots, though. Rinse and repeat. Killing Killing command centers at this point is nice. Oh, Stalker's actually, oh yeah, way overexposed. Here we go fishing again. No lucky hit this time around. Yeah, and as much as I like this strategy, because I like playing Zerg, it's very cost inefficient. Now, ShoWTimE does have more income than his opponent. He's got a bigger bank than his opponent too. But ultimately, he's throwing away a lot of resources here to kill a command center. And if there's one thing that Terrans have in the late game, it's command centers. When Terrans don't know what to ask for Christmas, they will ask for a command center, even though they already have a dozen. Okay. Yeah, those lips are just destroying it. Those lips are so good. Oh, okay, well that's one way to kill the remainder of that planetary fortress. Liberators trying to chase this down. Stalker's going around the site. Maybe a little over-ambitious right here for GuMiho, but he does have a lot of army. And there's just no good counter against those Liberators right now. ShoWTimE was hoping he could seal the deal before he needed to have a reliable counter. And now it might be a little bit too late for him to make a, well, proper SkyToss transition. Thing is, there's already so many starports out with reactors. You can pump out 6 of those Vikings at a time. Obviously, there's no air upgrades here for ShoWTimE either, and that may honestly be the bigger issue. Starting to make a bunch of Tempest into a Terran player who already has, well, soon to be. I think by the time a first Tempest would hit the battlefield, it would be +3/+1 for the air units. You're just so far behind in that department. So instead we're going for a counterattack, and that's exactly what ShoWTimE was hoping for. GuMiho, though, goes around the site, kills a Nexus that is mostly irrelevant. Now there's suddenly units everywhere. Command center's running dangerously low, but keep in mind he's got more of those. Gotta be careful here. This army can very easily get pinned. Looks like GuMiho is forced to retreat. Lost a lot of SCVs, by the way. He's only at 33 SCVs at this point. How many orbitals do we have? Just 3. Honestly, as critical as I've been, I think this is going well for ShoWTimE. ShoWTimE has got this base now taken at the bottom too. He made a Nexus on the left side of the map, whereas GuMiho is just sort of sitting behind his planetaries and his Liberators. Big aggressive blink forward. Do we have enough zealots to really push this army back? Nice dodging right there by GuMiho. Rarely do we see men dodging. No. No, Lowko, no, too far. Enough. I will refer to them as disruptors now. It's the pro gamers, man. The pro gamers call these guys balls. I'm not kidding. Like, this is... Oh! Jeez. Okay. That was almost a disaster. A mini disaster. They, like, pretty much every single European programmer will refer to these units as the balls. Like, unironically, they will just call the balls. And that's because they are. Yeah. Plus, you can go bowling with them. You can go fishing with them. It's a lot of opportunity, really. Multifunctional. Anyways, big aggressive blink forward over here into Marines and Marauders. Zealots here trying to see if they can potentially kill that base, but my god, that is a costly decision. ShoWTimE throwing away, I think a little too much there, doesn't he? Okay, well, we're gonna give up this expansion on the left side of the map. No, we did not quite go to the bottom. I think these Stalkers may try to go across and harass that base for a little bit longer. Okay, ShoWTimE needs time right now. Look at this, income advantage. Very, very good for the Protoss, but resources lost-wise, I mean, it's been hyper cost inefficient. At some point, the cost inefficiency is going to backfire. GuMiho right now with a massive army compared to the Protoss. 151 versus 88 supply. Plus, these units are just simply better. I think I like most of the traits until that fight just now on the left. I think that may have been a little bit too much. GuMiho now using some of his mules, trying to remax once again. Keep in mind that GuMiho only has 28 SCVs, so he's got a lot of supply available for army. ShoWTimE, even when maxed, is not going to have as much supply dedicated to his army as GuMiho has right now. Boom. Okay, here we go again. A big run by the Protoss, but this time around, GuMiho does not go back home. Early Stimpeg to try and give these units a nice little boost. He has to be careful about any of those disruptors. Disruptors could be sitting right over here on the high ground. Luckily right here, I guess, for GuMiho, that is not the case, as GuMiho is trying to break the natural. In the meantime, ShoWTimE going to town on the opponent's natural expansion. He is smelling what seems to be a tournament win, so he wants to try and shut down this economy here of the Terran player once and for all. And with this base gone, the only mining comes out of these 4 skinny mineral fields. The entire natural expansion of ShoWTimE has been destroyed as well at this point, but he still has 20 gateways. They're sprinkled all over, mostly inside of the main though. I wonder if GuMiho should have maybe split off some of those units. Probes are even sent right now to those skinny mineral fields that were previously mined by the SCVs. Now only a single worker remains. This is Steve right over here. Steve the SCV is the only one still hard at work. The army though for the Terran is massive, but this is a good engagement right here for ShoWTimE. Disruptors coming in for the flank. One Marauder trying to keep all of this alive. In a straight up battle, the Marine Marauder Medevac army will certainly win with a couple of nicely placed EMPs. This is all still possible. Okay. GuMiho decided to run through that army. 48 workers remain. Oh, this is a banger of a game. I think this army here of GuMiho is actually still incredibly powerful. It all comes down to the micro against the disruptors. One Marauder this time around. Careful. Careful, ShoWTimE. Don't get too over-eager. GuMiho now only has this. Steve is still trying to mine out those mineral fields that were there at the very beginning of the match. ShoWTimE has got 48 workers still mining. So right now his income advantage is roughly about 2,000 a minute. That's huge. So ShoWTimE is playing this, slowly. He doesn't really need to be over-eager. GuMiho is the one who needs to get something done and needs to get it done fast. Looks like the Liberators are gonna try and slow push this base together. You love to see that. No reliable counter right here. Trying to go in for the Disruptor flank. Quite a few of the Marines and Marauders do get caught. Every unit right now is precious. Even Steve. Okay, here we go. Apparently this is the commitment we want to make. Oh my god, we are move commanding a little bit too much. Nice target firing right there by the Terran player too. He picks up, and actually a bunch of the zealots of ShoWTimE take friendly fire. That fight was good for GuMiho, but still, his income is nowhere. Sorry, Steve, but you suck. Liberators, trying to harass wherever they can. There's still income, though, on these mineral fields right over here. GuMiho is bringing the army back home. We're getting to a point where Terran has pretty much one plane for every single one of his units. That is dangerous. ShoWTimE is going to start long-distance mining because he's got enough. Army-wise, Terran is still in a better spot, but quite a few of those Terran units are, well, those Liberators, right? And the Liberators are not currently participating in the main fight. A Nexus starts up. ShoWTimE, I don't think we need a Nexus, dude. He doesn't quite realize, I don't think, that Terran has not been mining. I think this Nexus is not what we need. I think we just make units here. We built those 20 gateways. We may as well make use of them. Okay. Oh my god, I'm really, canceling that is actually doing Protoss a favor. I think he's just warping units, dude. He wants to make another base. Okay, another Liberator goes down. Nice snipe. Big Zealot warp in. GuMiho, not even really able to make a supply depot anymore. He's currently supply blocked. Nice sniping right here by the Protoss player. Getting one of those Marines at a time. The Zealot gets sniped here, okay. Purification Nova trying to be annoying. Forces GuMiho once again to back off. ShoWTimE wants to expand again, I think, but he has decided to warp in some new units. He goes for a Stargate. I think he's actually getting really fed up with those libs. So one Stargate, maybe one Phoenix, one Void Ray. Whatever it takes to try and get rid of those libs. Keep in mind that ShoWTimE hasn't been able to scout in a while, so he doesn't really know how many command centers there truly are. I think actually GuMiho could be making a move. Looks like Steve, by the way, found a friend. Look at that, it's Frank. Hey Frank. Hit the like button for Frank. If you don't like Frank, hit the like button for Steve. I know. Yeah. Well, yeah. Your options are great. Either you hit the like button or you hit the like button. I think those, yeah. Long distance mining across the board. I wonder if, yeah, ShoWTimE is actually just scouting right here with his entire army, which is a bit dangerous. He does have speed right here on the observer. Goes fishing again. Yeah, Frank and Steve are roommates. Steve was there first, but they get along very well. Turns out they have a lot of similar hobbies, and not only were they roommates. Okay, fine. I'll stop with the fan fiction. But Frank and Steve are finally alone. Did he just decide to recall? Okay. This is a very tense game right now, though. I think he wants to go for maybe like a jump into the main base. Loses a few zealots. Nice catch right here by Gumi. Honestly, the fact that GuMiho's supply is still as even to ShoWTimE's is a bit of a surprise to me. Those engagements we've seen, even though they were relatively slim, they've still been very good for our Terran. But ultimately, GuMiho is fizzling out. Aw. Steve and Frank are working on the same mineral field now. ShoWTimE, doing what ShoWTimE does best. Calm and collected. He doesn't want to be over-eager. He doesn't need to be over-eager. He knows he's got more income than a Terran. He's been scouting every single base over the last minute or so, but needs to be careful. I think you should ball your units together. Losing these units actually is very painful. Careful, ShoWTimE. Okay. GuMiho is going to be able to kill these pylons and the nexus and whatever else there was over here. Disruptor! Oh my god, we're one Nova away from a Protoss tournament win. Obviously though, GuMiho is not gonna take his eyes right now off of this army. There's nothing else to look at. Let's see. Can he get it done? Oh my god. I think GuMiho is starting to feel the desperation. There is a world where he can take the perfect fight. Like, imagine this Protoss army without the disruptors, right? There is a world where he can, for example, catch those units unattended and win the game. He's got one ghost. Disruptor Nova. Yeah, he's not looking away. There's one ghost in the mix. EMP could be massive. ShoWTimE probably a little upset that he never really checked up to, for example, High Templar, Dark Templar, Psionic Storm, that sort of thing. Okay, nice snatch right now on the medevac. GuMiho slipping up. The clock is ticking though, and ShoWTimE's army is growing, whereas GuMiho is not really adding anything. Oh, there's a new roommate. I think we don't make probes, dude. I'm actually, like, making workers here seem so dangerous. What ShoWTimE wants, right, is for Terran to go up this ramp into that static defense. That would be a massive, massive... Oh, this could be an opportunity, though, for ShoWTimE. Every stim, by the way, is quite pricey if the medevacs aren't there. So any medevac kill is huge. Liberators joining in as well. Okay, gets one of the Liberators. Does he still have that Phoenix? He does still have the Phoenix. Okay, that Phoenix is just set up to try and prevent all this from happening. GuMiho. Dude, they've been dancing. They've been dancing for so long. I'm starting to get nervous here. Good EMP. Nice Disruptor Nova, forcing that Terran army to back off. GuMiho goes up towards the high ground, it looks like. Gets one of the photon cannons? Maybe? No, just the pylon for now. A few of the Stalkers end up going down. Battery overcharge awkwardly used. A lot of the Zealots are being blocked by the Stalkers. Yep, there we go. ShoWTimE decides to shuffle the units around. Only 2 disruptors remain. Good force fields. Gets a couple of the units. Ghost gets saved for now. No target firing from those stalkers. So the medevac escapes. Additional sentries get warped in, so we have more force fields available. Another big EMP against those clumped up Protoss units. Stalkers trying to pick off whatever they can. There's a medevac going down. There was a 3rd disruptor. Okay, I didn't know where it went. One Marauder right there, caught by it. Looks like it might get picked off. Nope, backs off just barely in the nick of time. Phoenix decides to lift up whatever it can. What a fight. What a fight. The Protoss units, though, they're starting to dwindle. The Marauders are still strong. Nice splitting right there by GuMiho, who's trying his very best to micro against this massive Protoss army. Medevac still healing up so much. Is there enough? I don't think there's enough. GuMiho! Oh, picks it up. GuMiho wins the fight. Oh my god. Whoa. There's so many things ShoWTimE could have done differently there, and he's gonna be upset about this. He could have pulled the probes, for example. That alone would have already added enough buffer. GG is cold. Wow. I think if you do that final engagement another 10 times, ShoWTimE wins every single time. GuMiho, though, man, absolutely lethal. Does not need a retry and actually gets it done after basically tiptoeing around the map at an economical deficit for the last 10 minutes. That's gotta be one of the absolute best games, as far as the tournament grand finals goes, that I have seen all year. Incredible. I am impressed, honestly, with the patience of GuMiho, because that was the only way he was gonna win. Right? Like, that was the only way in which he was going to be able to obtain the victory there, other than ShoWTimE going AFK. He had to execute that fight perfectly, and on top of that, furthermore, he needed to have his opponent make a couple mistakes. Well, luckily right there for the Gumi God, the stars aligned. He probably would have liked that game to go a little bit differently, but ultimately, a win is a win. Trying to think of other ways in which ShoWTimE could have lost that game. Like, the most obvious one is him accidentally keeping his disruptors unattended, right? Or losing a few of his own units. Yeah, he could have decided to start killing all of his own structures. Because the win condition in a game of StarCraft, obviously, is to kill your opponent's structures. So, I mean, if ShoWTimE kills his own structures, at some point, GuMiho would win. But that would have taken a long time, because he had like 20 gateways or so sitting there inside of the main. Oh man, that's gotta be a really tough loss right there for the German Protoss. I can only imagine that that one really stings. Keep in mind that he was ahead for the majority of that game, and he honestly played it really well. That game was looking like a win until it didn't, right? Like, it's one of those really frustrating moments where you're leading for like the first 98% of the game. Not even the first 98, that was a very long match. That was like a 99.5% lead for ShoWTimE in that match. And then it turns out the last 0.5% is where GuMiho comes back. Sadly for ShoWTimE, the only percent that matters is the one at the very, very end. And that mentally has got to be a drain, by the way. Like, that is... Whew. As a StarCraft pro, the only thing you really dream of is winning tournaments. They don't, the players don't play to play second place, right? Nobody cares about getting second place. There's only winning, and then there's losing. And sometimes, I guess, that gets to your head a little bit too much. Okay. He still has another shot, though. Ghost River is gonna be our 6th map in this best of 7 series. It'll be a Stargate opener, no surprise. It's good on this map. The rush distance air to air is incredibly fast. Usually we see them closer to the Protoss, or to rather the Terran side of the map, but it'll be a Phoenix start. Okay, so Phoenixes are a delicate unit to open up with. Easy for them to go horribly wrong. And we see that time and time again. But if you micro everything correctly, you can almost always force the macro game. ShoWTimE apparently feeling confident that he can still get it done here. You'll love to see that. I would have expected him to go for something a little bit more comfortable, I guess is the correct word. Because these units are... ugh, they're great, but it's also really easy to accidentally slip up. In the meantime, what is GuMiho going for? We have a siege tank loaded into the medevac. And I think we're going to be bringing 2 of them across the map. Should be pretty good for the Phoenix player. Obviously, siege tanks kind of suck against Phoenixes, and medevacs are also, last time I checked, not great. There will be anti-air, but it will be a relatively small group of Marines. Rush distance is fast, though. At this point, there's not a whole lot of Protoss units yet. ShoWTimE doesn't know about this. I would like to see this unit scout right now. The Adept is just sort of patrolling over here. He's playing SimCity in the main base. Hitting a supply block. Oh no. ShoWTimE just hit a supply block. It's only there for a couple seconds, but it's giving enough time right now for GuMiho to come across and park the siege tanks in exactly the position that he's hoping for. We do have a battery overcharge available, and we may very well need it. Nice pickup control, though, with those Phoenixes so far. Immortal is coming, but the Robo facility is very exposed. Yep, and that's that power down. No more battery overcharge until there is a new pylon available. Not enough energy, by the way, on these units either, but good movement there once more on the Phoenixes as he shuts down the medevac too. New Robo facility coming up inside of the main base. GuMiho is bringing a bunker across the map too. He's brought a few SCVs to repair and also to, well, maybe have like a miss target happen from the opponent. Love the bunker over there, by the way. That bunker is an absolute disaster. Natural expansion is taking damage, though. Oh, he doesn't have energy. Yeah, there's not enough energy. He needs to wait until he's got enough for another liftoff. There's the natural expansion going down. GuMiho. Rubbing salt in the wound here. I love it. Okay, well, the recall to the main base is nice, I guess, but hey, now we have 36 probes on 8 mineral fields. It's not quite ideal. Obviously now, oh, 3rd command center starts up. Yeah, this is game. Phoenixes can't win you the match. Like, Phoenixes are not gonna win you the game. These guys are gonna have to get a lot of value and push the Protoss player back ahead. But I don't see a way out of this for ShoWTimE. He can't break the natural. And he can't stop the 3rd. He can't, like, he needs to stop the natural in order to make this an even game, right? But it looks like GuMiho is going to be able to get the 3rd command center up and running here. Loses 1 Phoenix. Good targeting right there by the Gumi God. There's 1 Cyclone as well right now. Gets the final hit. ShoWTimE is going to have to break out of this position. GuMiho, I don't think you need to move, dude. GuMiho is going to actually try and make an aggressive move forward. He doesn't really need to be doing this. Feels like it's a little unnecessarily aggressive. But in the meantime, the Phoenixes are using up their energy on the other side of the map. I think this is ShoWTimE processing the loss. Yeah. Robo Facility 2.0 goes down. One of the Immortals had its barrier ability already triggered. Stargate ends up getting sniped. Now we're only on a single gateway worth of production. GuMiho, in the meantime, has a 3rd command center done. He's building an orbital command. ShoWTimE is gonna put all of his eggs in one basket and go down that ramp. It's gonna be really brutal. If you're a fan of Protoss, close your eyes. Even if he cleans this up, I mean, he might. But there is still such a tremendous advantage right here for the Terran player. GG. It all comes down to this. Amphion. Game number 7 in a best of 7 series. Not that long ago, it was looking like a relatively easy victory for ShoWTimE. A 3-1 on the scoreboard, leading the final, or what should have maybe been the final game of the series. And suddenly, just about 10 minutes or so later, GuMiho has brought it back. Now we're on Amphion. This is a complex map that I think, yeah, GuMiho likes playing on a hell of a lot more than ShoWTimE. This is not an easy map to just go and play your standard I like to macro and make more expansions type of strategy on. You need to adjust. In the Terran versus Protoss matchup, this map is heavily in favor of Terran. It's like a 70-30 or so, maybe like a 75-25. It's... Okay, let me look it up. I was wrong, it's a 65-35. Anyways, it is heavily in favor of Terran. Certainly a map that GuMiho prefers playing on against Protoss. Is it impossible for ShoWTimE? Certainly not. But this is the map he was certainly going to try and avoid. That's why it's game number 7. A 2-1 advantage for Terran against Protoss at the professional level. Keep in mind that at this point ShoWTimE is mentally also going to feel quite battered. It's important to be able to put yourself past that sort of thing, but momentum is certainly in favor right now of GuMiho. The Towel Terran himself. Still one of my favorite nicknames in StarCraft 2. It's not as fun because apparently he's got a condition that causes excessive sweating in his hands. So GuMiho always plays with a little towel over his mouse. And I'm assuming he changes out his keyboard every couple months. But he has a little towel that he keeps over his hand to prevent it, I guess, from slipping. You'd imagine at some point the towel gets stuck underneath the mouse or whatever, but... Twilight Council opener for ShoWTimE. It'll be good old Blink. At least it should be good old Blink. Reaper going around trying to figure out whatever's happening. GuMiho, by the way, playing a relatively straightforward series, right? Like, I feel like a lot of people, when they think of GuMiho, they think of the cheeky Terran, the man who's not afraid to play hyper cheesy and just go for the crazy stuff. Like, he was always playing mech and battle cruisers and all the weird strategies and whatnot, but in his old age, apparently he's normalized his strategies quite a bit. Now, he's just been playing the strategies that the top-level Terrans are going for, with still, obviously, a bit of a GuMiho twist, but you can really tell that he's been practicing his standard game for a very long time now. Oh, that was truly one of the Reaper grenades of all time. How many gateways do we have? Just the 2, right? Yep, just the 2 gateways. Robo facility coming up. Are we gonna take a third base on the left? Are we gonna take a third base on the right? I'm expecting it to come up pretty soon. GuMiho in the meantime. Happily macroing up. Yep, it's a 2-1-1 here. We should be seeing some medevacs here in just a moment. One cheeky little Cyclone. Getting the kill on the Adept would be nice. I think the Adept could have continued running, but... Good start right here for the Terran. 2 probes, by the way, killed is not bad. Alright, so this is very much so a Terran versus Zerg build in my mind. We should have 16 Marines here in just a moment. We can load them into a medevac, 2 medevacs. Send them across the map with Stimpack. Give them some combat drugs and ready they go. Here we go. It's a 16 Marine drop with 14 Marines. It's because of that Cyclone. I will still call this a 16 Marine drop though, even though it's a 14 Marine drop. Stalkers already occupying the main base. Third Nexus is indeed about halfway done at this point. We're still only on just 2 gateways. These medevacs could deal damage. ShoWTimE doesn't actually see it. Ooh, that was really close. Cyclone being annoying, just trying to create a distraction. Oh, Gumi! Commits, loses the medevac. Oh! Okay, one of the Stalkers was missing there. Still lost the medevac. Nicely controlled right there by ShoWTimE. We have one observer here seeing everything. He used to see everything. Yeah, now he's dead. Both of these players, by the way, have been playing this game for as long as I remember. My memory goes back a long, long, long time at this point. I think they must have been playing this game competitively in like 2010, when the game first came out, which is actually kind of crazy how long it's been at this point. RoboBay is going to finish up. +1 together with the combat shields is going to not be far behind all of this either. One Stalker goes down. Every unit at this point is precious. This is one of those early games for Protoss where you just don't have a lot of stuff. No Colossus. Instead, he's going into... Okay, the Immortals. Immortals, okay. Are critical here. Siege Tank's trying to find an angle. I don't think he can stay. No. GuMiho wants to save the Siege Tanks primarily. Okay. Colossus #1 coming up. Really the only value he got right there was a sentry. Quite a few Marines have actually died now. Good beginning of the game for ShoWTimE in the end. Third command center though is done. And we are not even remotely close to Protoss being able to go for like a big attack or something like that. Now, I do think the playstyle here of ShoWTimE does favor him a little bit compared to other Protoss players on this map. A lot of Protoss players will try to run into this particular choke point. And ShoWTimE will probably be forced to do that at some point here, but he's happy expanding all over the map. Both players, by the way, forced to go for the right side of the map. So not really going into anything further out. The left side here is accessible, but only after the mineral fields or the rocks are destroyed. Nexus starts up. Perfect timing here. Can he get the cancel? He will get the cancel. Sometimes you need a little bit of luck. GuMiho gets it. 100 minerals down the drain. Double forge coming up here for ShoWTimE. He's pretty late with the first forge. GuMiho already about to finish up his 1-1 research. We should be seeing a second NG Bay and an armory as well here in a moment, I think, for Gumi, because this is not looking like a game where he can just go for a push and win. Colossi are gonna get their ranged upgrade again. Just like we've already seen in, I guess, every other game so far, other than the previous one on Ghost River. ShoWTimE trying to scout out how much there truly is here. It's 5 barracks for the time being. GuMiho is going to give this attack a try, though. He's a little late on the armory. +2. No, I guess it will be lined up quite well. +2 will be starting up momentarily. ShoWTimE will be double chrono boosting this as much as he can to try and get those upgrades to catch up. For now, though, Terran trying to see if he can shut this down. The entire Protoss army is in the middle of the map, ready to meet that bio ball. Siege tanks have been left behind, together with one Marauder, because all of the other Terran units, okay, are inside of a medevac, but a patrolling zealot scouted it. That's big. These medevacs were headed for the main base of the Protoss player. A lot of space here to unload, but luckily for ShoWTimE, he catches it before it really happens. So GuMiho forced to retreat. Starts up the 4th Nexus. Starts up the 2nd NG Bay right now too, as well as the +2 attack for the infantry units. Now the armory production, or sorry, the disruptor production is starting up. A lot of hallucinated phoenixes here to scout out exactly the positioning of this Terran force. It's a very zealot heavy army, by the way. We do have 10 stalkers, I was gonna say. No stalkers seems like a dangerous play. There's not a lot of Vikings, but they will be coming up. +1/+1 just finished for the Protoss. +2/+2 starts up immediately. Early fleet beacon here. Terran fleet beacon. Fusion core here. For the Terran. And I'm wondering if ShoWTimE is once more going to be playing that mass gateway style. On Crimson Court, we had a very similar situation. A very long macro game. ShoWTimE refused to make Skytools units. I think that's a prism going down. Gravitic drive indicates that it was indeed a prism. Will ShoWTimE, once more, just go mass gateway unit? That's the question. I don't think it's the best play, if I'm being honest with you, but... Okay. Yeah, we are once again going mass gateway. I liked it better on Crimson Court, mostly because the Terran's economy was not really booming yet. Now GuMiho's eco is going to be really solid, or at the very least the Terran didn't seem to have as much an economy. Maybe it was actually quite similar to where we are right now, but this is not really a map where ShoWTimE can deny those bases. Crimson Court relatively exposed. All of these bases feel so tucked away, right? You can't really go into the natural or the third or even really the fourth. All of it is nice and tucked away, nice and secure for Gumi. And ShoWTimE got into a good position because he sniped so many bases. Anyways, here we go. He does do an aggressive push in exactly that position I was talking about earlier. There are disruptors in the mix, 4 of them in total. GuMiho will hold strong for now. Caduceus reactor finishing up. Latest upgrade added to StarCraft 2. Looks like another pylon over here ended up getting destroyed. Base in the top right-hand corner is going to force a recall on a small troop of units that was previously there, but already the medevac is retreating back home. Command center explosion started up. +1 air weapons coming up for GuMiho. This is before he really gets a lot of air units, but it's in preparation for the Liberator transition. For now, though, it's going to be Ghosts that will be powering up this army. Traits are good right here for Gumi. Couple of bio units for the Protoss going around the bottom of the map. These will be caught for free. There's the starports coming up. I don't think this is a good strategy to play on this map. ShoWTimE literally is building a pylon or a pylon and a gateway within vision right there. Obviously, Protoss still has so much, but he can't really do much with this army. He can't really warp in the main base very easily. He can't really get across the map very quickly. He wants to trade units right now. Okay, maybe this is the opportunity he's been waiting for. A lot of siege tanks, though. Siege tanks over there on the high ground on the far right of your screen, also aiding in this battle. A lot of the disruptors in the back. Siege tanks, yeah, will be able to force this Protoss army back. And I think that will be a fight where Gumi is very happy, because he can start replacing some of that lost supply with better units. Again, on this map, it's not really one where you can really expect a big flank while the Protoss is pushing with the main army. So these are relatively easy holds for Gumi. Maybe if Zealots came running up this ramp to go after these siege tanks, that would have been an opportunity. Maybe if the Prism was inside of the main base, but the sensor towers are providing so much additional vision right here for the Terran. Something that Protoss is really struggling against here. Advanced ballistics. 90-ish% of the way done. The Liberators are coming. That's of course the Liberator ranged upgrade. They're gonna spawn with +1. They will have +2 in the foreseeable future. ShoWTimE, though, taking every expansion. His plan is to try and deny as many of those Terran bases as possible, knowing very well that if Terran is going to be bled out, it's because they run out of cash. So denying expansions here is pivotal for ShoWTimE. He's taking them, but he does not want his opponent to have them. We're once again at 20+ gateways. But once again, at going into very quick +3/+3 research. I mean, the first upgrades were relatively late, but the time at which 3/3 finishes is significant. Prism in the main base. Okay, nicely done. Do we have high-sec auto-tracking yet? We don't. Bio Army, though, has maybe found a bit of an opportunity, and this is an awkward angle. He's gonna be able to kill this base easy peasy if he targets it down. Terran does not have an easy path to retreat, although I guess he could be escaping right there from the left. Zealots get warped in. Going after the engineering base would be massive. +3 attack, though, already finished. +3 infantry armor. 5 seconds away. Oh my god, it got denied. It got denied. ShoWTimE still maxed. Chase that army all the way down the left lane. Liberators now in the main base. That was very close. Base in the bottom right-hand corner, not really attackable. One thing I've seen MaxSpecs and Hero do whenever they're in this situation where they play the Gateway Man strategy is go into a mass Blink Dark Templar. That is something that ShoWTimE has not really mixed in yet. It's interesting. Favoring Zealots and Stalkers instead. One Ghost here, forcing the charge of everything. Siege tanks on the high ground. Liberators over here too. Out of range, out of reach. ShoWTimE forced to back off once more. Now the Liberator numbers are climbing. Did GuMiho realize, by the way, that he never got +3? Maybe he assumes that that upgrade finished. That could be a big deal. +3 armor on Bio is actually very significant. Especially in a long macro game. Okay, +1 air starts up. Stargate starts up. ShoWTimE has realized that this is not going to be able to win him the game. Now that the Liberator production is ongoing, it'll be very difficult to get much done. He needs Tempests. Okay. I thought I saw an engineering bay just now. Am I crazy? Where's the... Oh, there it is. Okay. Engie bay in the bottom right-hand corner. I see. Very far away. Apparently this is the safest spot. I would say over here it's safer, but anyways. Oh, siege tanks. Siege tanks. Caught. Bio army on the left. Liberators on the right. A lot of Novas here available too, so Terran can't really chase this down. That's a lot of siege tanks. Down the drain. GuMiho has so much money though. Look at the bank. Like ShoWTimE is still able to max out. He's got a big Zealot warp in right here inside of the main base. Fair enough. Bio army is going to clean this up. Prism not on siege, not flying away for its life. ShoWTimE is trading costs inefficiently, much like he did on Crimson Court. But the big difference here is that GuMiho has got way more economy. He's just... Yeah, he's losing workers, fair enough. But ultimately, this is just a much easier map to defend on in this position of the game. That's exactly the reason why GuMiho has gone for this particular expansion pattern. ShoWTimE all the way up to 81 workers. I wouldn't mind it of seeing him go up to a little bit more than that, but here's the Dark Shrine. +3, by the way, did start up. So GuMiho did apparently realize that that happened. We're not really in a position to go mass Stargate, mass Fleet Beacon here. GuMiho just trying to play survival. Oh my god. Okay, well, some nice Novas there. But we see 6 Liberators on the production tab at a time. And the more Liberators hit the battlefield, honestly, the harder this is going to become. For ShoWTimE. I think the only reason why Gumi is not being more aggressive here is because he doesn't have that +3. He's still waiting for upgrades. He doesn't need to be too aggressive. Ball is in his court, though. I don't think there's really a reason why ShoWTimE would be pushing up another ramp. I mean, he can give it a shot, but... We're starting to notice a couple of slip-ups here and there. One too many units going down. Observer gets sniped as well. GuMiho maxed out. 17 Liberators is what he will be on when he is done with his current production cycle. At 17 Liberators is, well, more than there are Stalkers right now. Those Liberators will demolish the Stalkers. There's a lot of tight choke points on this map. As long as the Libs are set up, Protoss should never be able to go in. There's finally the Fleet Beacon. There's the additional Stargates. We should really see the +2 air attack start up as well. But I think ShoWTimE is starting to show some signs here of him feeling the heat of this finals. GuMiho playing like an absolute beast, by the way. Incredibly confident. Now he started up the slow push with the Libs. There is a big Zealot run by, ready to move towards the bottom right-hand corner, but of course at this stage in the game, command centers can be replaced easily. That Nexus falls. Zealots in the bottom right-hand corner are spotted. Planetary Fortress, I mean, not a big deal. GuMiho is smelling blood in the water. He doesn't want to take his eyes off of this main army right now. Protoss is going for the counter-attack instead. He can obviously always recall if he wants to, but that is a dangerous play. He goes straight into the main. GuMiho passes by. The natural expansion goes straight into the main base. And I think this is the moment where ShoWTimE is starting to be a little bit concerned. This Protoss army does not look nearly as formidable. This is where all of the production is at. Planetary Fortress, though, and Orbital Command end up going down. We have a couple of Terran units at home right now, but Liberators are, of course, amazing for the base reinforcement, too. Liberators on the ramp, for example. I mean, good luck breaking through all of that. Protoss, though, is shutting down a lot of expansions. Bottom right-hand corner is gone. Command centers over here are gone. Command center over at the third base, or what used to be the third base, now also destroyed. Entire main base, though, all of the production of ShoWTimE at this point has disappeared. He's remaking everything. He's making a cyber core, top right-hand corner. He's going for a new dark shrine. Here's the Liberators on the high ground. Are we gonna commit? I don't think you can run up. No, I don't think you can. So ShoWTimE gets pushed back. A lot of GuMiho's supply, though, is currently inside of the main base. And that means that ShoWTimE's army is large. Similar situation, though, on this side of the map right now, where there's Liberators protecting the ramp. Oh, this is just about to be really awkward. Bit of deja vu from what we had earlier. GuMiho currently does not have much income. ShoWTimE has got 64 workers. Army, though, of GuMiho is significantly better. More gateways are spotted. More gateways are shut down. Still a lot of money in the bank, by the way. 6,500 resources right here for ShoWTimE. Far less here for GuMiho. Not all the Liberators are sieged up. Okay, apparently we're just gonna try and commit. I think he needs to. Okay, ShoWTimE. Going after GuMiho right here. Going after whatever he can in the top right-hand corner. Upon seeing the amount of biological units here in the natural expansion, ShoWTimE decides to back off. He's gonna have to make the walk of shame all the way back home. Another Nexus falls. Blink coming up for the Dark Templar. ShoWTimE has no way to spend his money. He's currently supply blocked, making one pylon. Another Nexus here in the top left-hand corner gets shut down by one Lib. Another Nexus here in the middle of the map, though, will start up mining once again. Choke point in the top right-hand corner. Careful right here, Gumi. Gumi's got such a massive army. 192 army supply versus 99. In a straight-up battle, there is no way ShoWTimE wins this engagement. He has no counter against the Libs. There's more Liberators than there are Stalkers, and I think that's pretty much all you need to know. As long as GuMiho is dancing within those liberation zones, there is pretty much no way here for the Protoss player to engage. Once again, ShoWTimE makes the walk of shame after making the walk of shame. He wants to break the natural expansion, but he'll be met by the exact same group of units. Another Nexus falls. Another set of Gateway falls. Another Dark Shrine will end up falling here as well. Resources or not, ShoWTimE has no way of spending his money. He's making 2 gateways. Yeah, I think the man is mentally defeated at this point. Literally half the army of GuMiho right now is better than the entire army of ShoWTimE. And this is starting to look like a loss that ShoWTimE will not forget for quite some time. Here we go. The Terran armies have been reunited. The entirety of the Bio Bowl is going across the map. There's still 7 medevacs somewhere, but I don't even see them anywhere. Marines, Marauders stimming forward. Liberators not even sieged up until right now. The entirety of the Protoss army disappears. And after being very far behind in this grand finals, GuMiho, he brings it all the way back and he ends up winning HomeStory Cup 25-4-3 over ShoWTimE. Amazing series. Well done.